I logged into my banking app just to pay the monthly HOA dues like a good little homeowner, but my stomach dropped straight through the floor. The balance wasn't just low, it was gutted. Not a couple hundred for some late fine, but nearly every cent I'd set aside for property taxes and the new guest suite renovation on my house. $44,000, gone in a flurry of special assessments and emergency compliance fees. I stared at the screen in Terminal C of Hartsfield-Jackson, travelers rushing past like nothing had happened, while my entire financial safety net had been vacuumed out by the very people who were supposed to protect our peaceful community. My name is Avery Lane, 33. I turned a crumbling fixer-upper in Willow Grove Estates into the showpiece of the neighborhood. Open concept kitchen, solar panels, the kind of curb appeal that makes realtors drool. I fix things. That's what I do. But standing there with my carry-on at my feet, I realize some things aren't fixable. Some things need to be demolished. The polite little alert from my bank app might as well have been a middle finger from Karen Whitmore herself, president of the Willow Grove HOA for the last decade. I refreshed the app. Still $1,242. The air in the terminal went thin. I dropped my bag right there on the terrazzo, ignoring the dirty look from a suit who nearly tripped. Transaction history was a horror scroll. Special assessment. Community pool upgrade, $5,000. Note, neighborhood enhancement. Compliance fine, exterior lighting violation, $4,000. Emergency roof contribution levy, $6,000. Every transfer timed perfectly while I was in the air, just small enough to dodge the bank's fraud flags, but frequent enough to bleed me dry. My hand shook as I called the bank's fraud line. Whole music was cheerful elevator jazz that made me want to scream. Fraud department, this is Jason. I forced my voice steady. Avery Lane. My account's been drained. Over $40,000 in unauthorized HOA transfers. Keyboard clicks. MS. Lane, these were initiated through your verified HOA payment portal link. Legacy joint authorization tied to the original account setup 12 years ago. Karen Whitmore is listed as the administrative co-holder. 12 years ago, I was 21, fresh homeowner, terrified of bouncing a dues check. I'd signed the portal paperwork so the board could auto-deduct if I traveled. I thought it was a safety net. The system still saw her as owner. Technically a civil matter between account holders, Jason said. I hung up without goodbye. Karen Whitmore, my community leader, had just treated my checking account like the neighborhood slush fund. I dialed her number. She picked up on the third ring, voice syrupy sweet like she was hosting a bake sale. Avery, darling, you land okay? Background noise, lawnmowers, kids laughing, the soundtrack of suburban bliss. Where's my money, Karen? No pleasantries. A calculated pause, then the tiniest snort. Oh, honey, don't be dramatic. We needed it. The phrase hit like a slap. Not borrowed. Not sorry. Just we needed it. Delivered with the unshakable confidence of a woman who believed every lawn in Willow Grove belonged to her. We needed it for the new welcome sign and the enforcement camera upgrades, she continued, as if that explained siphoning my renovation budget. You're always posting those gorgeous before and afters on the neighborhood app. You're doing fine, Avery. Better than fine. The community just needs a little sharing. I felt ice spread from my chest to my fingertips. This wasn't desperation. This was entitlement wearing a pastel cardigan. She spoke like my bank account was communal property and I was the stubborn holdout who refused to contribute. I had taxes due. Payroll for my renovation crew. If I missed that lien deadline, the bank could slap a notice on my house. The same house I clawed back from foreclosure with my own hands. You'll figure it out, Karen said brightly. You always do. Smart girl. Just move some things around. Families, well, communities, help each other. Click. She hung up. I stood there hollowed out. Money could be earned back. But the we needed it revealed the truth. To Karen and her board cronies, I wasn't a neighbor. I was a resource. Harvest season had arrived. I didn't scream. I didn't call my friends in the neighborhood for sympathy. Instead, I sat in an empty gate area seat, opened my laptop on airport Wi-Fi, and started a spreadsheet titled Evidence. Date, amount, memo, IP trace. I wasn't a homeowner anymore. I was a forensic auditor. I was the thing Karen feared most, a woman who kept score. Line by line, I had downloaded every confirmation PDF. Most went to K. Whitmore Community Fund. One chunky transfer. $3, 500, hit Galloway Compliance Solutions. I never heard of it. Karen had claimed it was for roof repairs on the common areas. But family, excuse me, community, stability doesn't usually wire thousands to an unknown LLC. There was a third player. I was going to find it. I closed the laptop. Shock had burned off into cold clarity. Karen thought she'd dipped in a neighborhood piggy bank and taught me a lesson about community spirit. She had no idea she just triggered the most expensive audit of her life. I grabbed my bag and headed for the rental car counter. I wasn't catching my connecting flight. I was driving straight back to Willow Grove Estates to see exactly what my $44,000 had bought the community. You have to understand where my first dollar came from. It didn't drop from a trust fund. It came from sweat, sawdust, and the smell of bleach. Karen likes to brag she's a self-made community leader because she chaired the Welcome Committee 15 years ago. She never built anything with her hands. She just moved fences and wrote citations. I built my life with a crowbar. When I bought the rundown bungalow on Maple Lane 12 years ago, the HOA packet was thicker than the deed. Karen, then just a nosy board member, stood in my driveway, clipboard in hand, and laughed. Cute little money pit. Better paint it beige before the first fine hits. My realtor actually groaned and whispered, "Sell it for the land and run." But I walked inside. Mildew, kudzu, cracked foundation, but I saw heart pine floors under the shag, high ceilings begging for light. "It has good bones," I told them. Karen rolled her eyes. "Bones don't pay the compliance fees, sweetheart." That was the day I stopped listening to Karen Whitmore about anything. For the next 6 years, I lived a double life. Daytime community college business classes. Nights and weekends, I was a laborer, diner shifts, hardware store discount lumber, YouTube tutorials on rewiring switches at 2 a.m. My hands were always raw. When I showed up at the annual block party with paint under my nails, Karen would sigh and hand me a bottle of lotion like a participation trophy. I scavenged estate sales at dawn. Mid-century chairs for $5. Brass sconces that just needed polishing. By 22, that money pit was the cutest rental on the street. Booked solid, 5-star reviews praising the historic Southern charm. I saved every penny. No new clothes, no spring break trips. While neighbors cruised to the Bahamas on credit, I was folding swan towels and learning crisis management from 1-star Wi-Fi complaints. 3 years ago, I bought the defunct 1970s ranch 2 doors down, the one the HOA had been trying to condemn for years. Bank laughed at first. 29-year-old woman with paint on her boots. Then I showed them the occupancy numbers from my first house. They gave me the loan. I named it the Maple Retreat. 18 months of hell, mold, permits, roof leaks, and thunderstorms. I fired contractors who overcharged because she's just a girl. Stood on scaffolding screaming orders over the rain. But I turned that concrete box into an eco-chic boutique rental. Booked 6 months out. Real wealth. Reserves. Retirement fund. On paper, I was a millionaire at 33 if you counted the asset value. But I never told the neighborhood the full scope. At block parties, Karen would ask, still flipping that little rental. Avery? Must be exhausting changing sheets for strangers. Same tone she used for teenagers with paper routes. I'd smile tightly. It's fine. Busy. She'd nod sagely. Keep at it. Maybe one day you'll get into real management, like the Marriott downtown. Benefits, you know. I never corrected her. Never flashed my quarterly profit that dwarfed her pension. Why? Instinct. The same instinct that makes a squirrel bury nuts deep. I knew my neighbors. I knew Karen's board was full of retirees with upside-down mortgages and adult kids still finding themselves. If they sniffed real money, I'd stop being Avery the quiet renovator and become the neighborhood ATM. The little rental job was my shield. It kept their hands out of my pockets. Or so I thought. I'd insured everything against hurricanes, floods, even HOA lawsuits. Background check tenants. Thought of every threat. Except the back door I'd left open 12 years ago when I was a broke new homeowner desperate not to bounce a due's check. I gripped the rental car's steering wheel until my knuckles whitened. The highway to Willow Grove stretched dark and empty. Every mile marker triggered memories from last month's annual HOA Welcome Back potluck, the one I'd foolishly hosted in my backyard because community spirit. I replayed it now like security footage. It had started with Karen's email 2 months earlier. Manic excitement. This year we're doing it right. No backyard hot dogs. Full catered luau. Tiki torches, the works. Avery, you're so good with online stuff. Book the caterer, put on your card for the points. We'll all settle up later. Settle up later, the Willow Grove motto. Latin for you're never seeing that money again. My neighbor Ethan, board treasurer, Karen's right-hand man, texted right after. Hey sis, neighbor. Dad. Karen told me about the party. I just closed a big landscaping deal. Let me cover half. Send a receipt. I wanted to believe him. Booked the $4,500 spread. Ethan ghosted. When I asked at the party, he laughed, slapped my back. Banks are dinosaurs, right? It's coming. Don't stress, moneybags. Red flag 1. Red flag 2 came from Karen's best friend Denise on the board. 2 days before the party, she called, jittery. Avery, honey, maybe give your phone to Karen for the group photos? You know how things get lost in the yard. Don't want your wallet wandering off. I was 33, ran 2 successful rentals. I knew how to keep track of a purse, but I dismissed it as classic HOA overreach. The party was humid enough to chew. Driveway packed with golf carts. Karen in her signature pastel pantsuit, clipboard swinging like a scepter. Within an hour, the dynamic was set. I wasn't the woman who'd turned 2 eyesores into income properties. I was Avery, the single girl who flips houses. We were peeling shrimp on the deck. Aunt Linda, board secretary, chewed with her mouth open. Still doing that little rental thing? Avery? Must be hard changing sheets for a living. My daughter just got a bank job. Benefits for 01k. Real stability. Ever think about a real career? I had a deeper 401k than Linda, who'd cashed hers out twice for cruise ships. I wanted to scream. Instead, I smiled. I'm happy where I am. Karen overheard, chuckled low. We do what we can for our little homeowners, right? Winked at the group, painting me dependent so she could justify managing my money while standing in the backyard I'd paid for. The rest of the night was servitude. Because I was single and organized, everything fell to me. Avery, run for more ice. Avery, the Wi-Fi dropped, fix it. Every bill, Karen grandly announced, put it on Avery's card. She's faster with the app. I'll tally later. I became the designated payer. The real heist happened at the seafood buffet. 20 of us. Bill astronomical. Karen's card declined. She patted pockets theatrically. Must be fraud hold. Avery, darling, handle this. I'll call them tomorrow. I opened my banking app, typed my PIN close to my chest. Karen leaned in to see the receipt. Her eyes locked on my screen. I felt the prickle, but brushed it off. Just a PIN. She couldn't do anything with a PIN. Later, group photo time on my deck. My phone's dead, Ethan said. Use Avery's. She has the good camera. Karen held out her hand. Unlock it so I can check lighting. Everyone watching. Pressure thick. I handed it over. Ethan took the phone, turned away. Bad angle. Tapped furiously. The phone buzzed once. Verification code. He deleted the thread instantly. Handed it back with a blurry shot. Great pick. The banking app was still open in the background. I told myself it was nothing. I was wrong. Now, driving home, I merged onto the off-ramp. Hands shaking again. They hadn't just used me for money. They choreographed a ballet of distraction. The decline card was set up. The group photo was cover. The bad angle was the window. We needed it, Karen had said. They needed access. And they'd work together, president and treasurer, while hugging me at my own party. I didn't drive straight to Karen's McMansion. Tactical error. I needed to isolate variables. First stop, my original bungalow, currently empty between bookings. I let myself in with a keypad, air smelling of lemon polish. Plugged in my laptop in the dark kitchen and performed the autopsy. The transfers weren't smash and grab. Surgical. Everyone under $10,000 to dodge federal reporting. 40% to K. Whitmore Community Fund. 20% to E. Hargrove, Ethan's landscaping business. 1 to Galloway Compliance Solutions. Smaller ones to random neighbors. Hush money? I called the bank's priority line again. Sarah confirmed. The original student-era HOA portal link had never been severed. Karen could still initiate emergency levies using legacy admin rights. I dialed Karen at 10 p.m. She answered instantly. I thought I told you to cool off, Avery. I see the structured payments to avoid reporting, I said evenly. You kept every levy under 10 grand. Pause. Then the snort again. Don't be ridiculous. The neighborhood needed it. Stop calling it theft. It's community money. It's not community money when it buys you a new luxury SUV. I shot back. I'd spotted the pending $5,000 charge to Savage Motors, dated today. That's necessary transportation, she huffed. My old sedan is a death trap. High blood pressure, you know. And Ethan needed a truck for his new venture. We have to keep the neighborhood looking prosperous. I closed the laptop. I'm coming over. And tell Ethan to bring the truck. I want to see what I bought. I didn't knock on Karen's door. I drove 3 streets over to Ethan's townhouse first. The new charcoal gray pickup sat gleaming under the streetlight like a trophy made of my tax money. I texted him, outside. Come down, or I report the vehicle purchased with stolen funds. 2 minutes later, he slunk out in gym shorts, looking defeated. Nice ride, I said, voice ice. He rubbed his neck. It's not what you think, Avery. Tell me exactly what it is, then. Because it looks like you and Karen conspired to wire $44,000 out of my account, and $5,000 of it went to Savage Motors, so you could play contractor. He pleaded. I'm going to work, landscaping gig. Karen said it was an investment. We were going to pay you back. Why didn't you ask for a loan like normal people? I stepped closer. Because you would have said no, he snapped, anger flashing. Or asked for a business plan. Made me feel like a child. Karen said it was easier this way. You have plenty. You're just tight. Tight. The word landed like a slap. I didn't offer because I was plowing every dime back into the business. That's how empires grow. Ethan deflated. Karen's drowning. The HOA is 3 months behind on the community center mortgage. They got a default notice. She's been hiding letters from a board. They're terrified of losing the building. I leaned against my car. If the HOA was losing the community center, why buy a $50,000 truck? Ethan whispered. She said we had to spend money to make money. I left him standing there and drove to the community clubhouse. Lights on in the boardroom. I didn't knock. I walked in. Karen was at the head of the table, surrounded by her loyal cronies, Denise, Linda, a couple others. Spreadsheets everywhere. Avery, she said sweetly, we were just discussing the next assessment round. I laid the printed transaction log on the table. This isn't an assessment. This is a raid. Denise gasped. Karen didn't flinch. The community needed liquidity. You'll be reimbursed when the new welcome sign sponsorships come in. Maybe in 6 months. I laughed, sharp and jagged. 6 months? I can't operate 6 days without that capital. Karen leaned back, eyes cold. Then you should have managed your cash flow better. You're smart. Just move some things around. And don't you dare call this theft. We governed this neighborhood better than to be greedy. The same script. Entitlement wearing different clothes. I walked around the table until I stood beside her. Did I, Avery Lane, authorize those transfers? She snorted. You gave the portal access 12 years ago. That's all the permission I need. I'm the president. I make executive decisions to balance the scales. You're doing well. Ethan's struggling. The HOA is struggling. I took what was necessary. I slid the folder across. Open it. Inside, the credit report I'd pulled that afternoon. 18 months ago, someone opened a quick cash community improvement loan in my name. Address listed as the HOA Clubhouse. Minimum payments made from a board slush account, so I'd never see late notices. Balance $4,200. Status current. Karen's face drained of color. That's for the roof. The roof on your new sunroom? I asked. The one you posted pictures of last month? Silence. Denise whispered, Karen, what is this? I hit the key on my laptop. The monitor on the wall lit up with a full credit report, highlighted in yellow. Lender, Quick Cash Services. Borrower, Avery Lane. Address, Willow Grove, HOA Clubhouse. Karen stood. This is a misunderstanding. No, I said. This is a lifestyle. You've been living off my name for a year and a half. The $44,000 wasn't panic. It was escalation. Ethan walked in right then, truck keys still in his hand. He saw the screen and froze. Karen tried to spin. We were going to pay it all back before anyone noticed. I tapped the repayment agreement I'd already drafted. Sign it or I file the police report for identity theft and wire fraud. Both felonies. Mandatory prison time for someone your age. She shoved the paper away. I'm not signing a confession with my own neighbor. You will, I said, or the district attorney gets everything, plus the bank email proving Ethan added a secondary Face ID profile to my phone at the potluck so you could log in remotely. The room went dead. Ethan's mouth opened and closed. Karen's hand shook. That was just for the group photos. No, I said. That was premeditated. You hugged me in place while he rigged my phone. Biometric verification. The bank traced it. Denise started crying. Karen, you used our son, neighbor, to rob her? For the first time, the board cracked. Karen looked at the door, then at me. She saw no mercy. Only the reflection of her own rules turned against her. She reached for the pen. The ink was barely dry when Karen slammed the clubhouse door behind her. She had signed, but she hadn't surrendered. Through the glass, I watched her march to her sedan, shoulders hunched in the posture of a woman already dialing the neighborhood gossip network. 10 minutes later, my phone exploded. Aunt Linda, I cannot believe you're threatening to evict Karen from her own presidency after everything she's done for this community. Uncle Bob, she's an old woman. You have plenty of money. Why be so cruel? Cousin Sarah, Mom says you're going to put Karen in jail. Are you serious? Blood is thicker than water. Well, community is. It was coordinated. Karen had weaponized the HOA email list. Painted herself the martyr. Me the greedy homeowner kicking the benevolent leader to the curb over a few fines. She left out the identity theft. Left out the $44,000. Left out the luxury SUV parked in her driveway that I had literally paid for. I didn't reply. I didn't engage. I let the battery drain. Then Ethan called. You happy now? His voice thick. You humiliated her. Made her sign that paper like a criminal. I didn't strip her of anything, I said. She stripped herself when she stole my identity to get a predatory loan for her sunroom. You don't get it, he snapped. It's how it looks. You made the whole board look like thieves. You are thieves, I replied. You just haven't been charged yet. Bring the truck to the dealership tomorrow or I report it stolen. The text kept coming. Suffocating. This was the social tax. Success was communal property. Boundaries were treason. I opened my laptop and logged into the neighborhood app. Aunt Linda had already posted a passive-aggressive rant about homeowners who forget their roots and the evil of hoarding resources. 12 likes. For sympathetic comments, I composed one group message to every contact who had attacked me. I see there's confusion. I am holding a signed legal admission where Karen Whitmore confesses to identity theft and unauthorized wire fraud totaling over $40,000. I also have bank statements showing exactly where the money went, including the new SUV and sunroom. Reply yes if you'd like the full file. Otherwise, respect my privacy. The phone stopped buzzing instantly. They didn't want truth. Truth was uncomfortable. Easier to believe I was the villain than admit their beloved president was a thief. But one notification still came, this time from the bank. Dispute update. The $8,000 cash withdrawal Karen had made the morning after I confronted her had been frozen at the receiving institution before full reconciliation. Funds returned. I laughed out loud. She hadn't been fast enough. But the $9,500 to Galloway Compliance Solutions was gone, dispersed to offshore entities. A quick search revealed Galloway was a front for unregulated online gambling. Karen hadn't paid a community debt. She'd thrown my money into digital slot machines. The mortgage excuse was cover. The truck was the trophy. Gambling was the sickness. I dialed my general manager at the Maple Retreat. Elena, we're hosting an emergency board meeting tomorrow at the clubhouse. But first, print every violation notice Karen ever issued me. Every pink flamingo fine, every grassling citation, every non-compliant paint color letter. I want the full, ridiculous paper trail. The next morning, the boardroom was packed. Not just the usual suspects. Every homeowner who'd received my group text showed up, curious. Karen sat at the head, chin high, but her hands trembled on the gavel. I stood at the podium I'd never been allowed to use before. According to Section 4.2 of the covenants, I began, voice calm, no resident may display a garden hose longer than 20 feet. Mine is 22. Fine, $250. Section 7.1. Lawn height must be exactly 2.5 inches. Mine was 2.7 after a rain. Fine, $500. Section 12.3. Exterior lighting must be soft white only. My warm LED porch lights triggered a $1,200 emergency levy. I clicked the slideshow. Every absurd rule, every selective enforcement. The room murmured. Karen tried to gavel. This is out of order. No, I said. This is forensic accounting. I hit the next slide, the signed confession enlarged. Karen admits the transfers were unauthorized. She admits using my name for the quick cash loan. She admits the secondary Face ID hack at the potluck. Gasps. Phones came out. Recording. Ethan shrank in his seat. Denise started crying again. Karen's face turned blotchy red. You're blackmailing the entire neighborhood. I'm negotiating with a debtor. I corrected. Sign the full asset recovery agreement or I hand the evidence and the gambling records to the district attorney and the state HOA oversight board. You lose the presidency, the house, and possibly freedom. She looked at the door, looked at the crowd, looked at me. No pity, only the reflection of every ridiculous rule she'd ever weaponized. Her hand shook as she signed. The notary I'd hired, sweet Mrs. Higgins from 2 streets over, stamped every page with a satisfying thunk. The ink was barely dry when Karen tried one last power move. She stood, voice trembling. This community will never forgive you, Avery. You'll be the pariah who destroyed a beloved leader. I smiled for the first time in days. Open the neighborhood app right now. Every phone in the room buzzed. I had scheduled the post to drop the second the notary stamped. Full confession PDF, bank statements, gambling records, photos of the new SUV and sunroom. All time-stamped and watermarked. Likes poured in. Comments flipped from outrage to shock. I can't believe it. She used our dues for online slots. That's my money too. Karen's face went gray. The gavel slipped from her fingers and clattered to the floor. For the first time in 10 years, no one jumped to pick it up. I turned to the board. New motion. Immediate removal of Karen Whitmore as president for breach of fiduciary duty. All in favor. Every hand except hers shot up. The vote was unanimous. Security, 2 retired cops who lived on the cul-de-sac, escorted her out while she sputtered about due process, and you'll regret this. The room erupted in relieved chatter. Neighbors I'd barely spoken to clapped me on the back. We had no idea. Thank you for standing up. Ethan approached last, eyes red. I'm selling the truck today. Every penny goes back. I'm getting a real job. No more schemes. Denise hugged me, actually hugged me for the first time. I should have stopped her years ago. I was scared. I'm sorry. I didn't say it's okay. Some things aren't. But I nodded. The agreement stands. I manage the HOA finances now until the debt is clear. Direct vendor payments only. No more cash. No more community spirit slush funds. They left the clubhouse like refugees from a war they'd started. I stayed behind, alone with the gavel on the floor. I picked it up. It felt lighter than it should. The satisfaction of the legal victory was real, but the gambling addiction revelation still gnawed. A repayment plan wouldn't stop a sickness. Karen would find another way, steal from Denise, pressure other neighbors. I wasn't done. I grabbed my keys and the full folder. The sun was still shining when I walked out, but the neighborhood looked different, lighter somehow. I dialed Denise's cell as I drove toward Karen's house. Don't let her drive anywhere. Pull over. I know where the rest of the money went. 10 minutes later, the familiar sedan rolled back into the clubhouse driveway. Karen, Denise, and Ethan climbed out looking exhausted. This time I didn't lead them to the boardroom. I stopped them in the middle of the sunlit lobby I'd helped fund with my own contributions. Elena, my general manager from the Maple Retreat, walked out from the reception desk with perfect timing. MS. Lane, the structural engineer, just approved the new West Wing expansion. Needs your signature before noon. And the Chamber of Commerce confirmed. They're presenting you Business Owner of the Year at tonight's dinner. I took the clipboard, signed with a flourish, and handed it back. Thank you, Elena. Tell maintenance to check the HVAC in room 4. The silence was deafening. Karen's mouth hung open. She looked from the polished cypress ceilings to the stone fireplace to me. For years, she had diminished me, still flipping that little rental to keep her own ego inflated. Now, she stood in the lobby of the business I'd built while she gambled away my money. You own this? She whispered. I bought the deed 4 years ago, I said calmly. Designed the renovation. Hired the staff. Signed every check. I'm not an employee. I'm a proprietor. The color drained from her face. It wasn't pride I saw in her eyes. It was shame, deep, burning shame. She realized she hadn't just stolen from the girl who flips houses. She had stolen from the woman who had built an empire while Karen played dictator over Lawn Heights. I stepped closer. And that brings us to Galloway Holdings. It wasn't a compliance company. It was an offshore betting site. You didn't pay a debt. You threw $9,500 of my money into digital slots. Ethan gasped. Denise turned to Karen, voice breaking. You lied. You told me it was for the roof. Karen looked at the floor. The fight was gone. The revelation of my ownership had stripped her last defense. I thought I could win it back, she muttered. I was down a few thousand. One big parley and I could fix everything. You don't fix a hole by digging deeper, I said. I looked at her, really looked. If I didn't have money, if I was still the broke girl you laughed at in my driveway, would you have done this? She stayed silent. That silence was the answer. She felt entitled because she believed I had excess. My success was an accident she had a moral right to redistribute. She hadn't stolen because she was desperate. She'd stolen because she didn't respect me. My phone buzzed, the final bank notification. The investigation closed. The $8,000 cash was recovered. The gambling loss stayed gone. Plus truck depreciation, plus the loan. That was her debt now. The agreement stands, I said. You pay every month. Miss one payment, and I foreclose on the community center you love so much. And one more thing, the Bank of Avery is closed. No more grabbing the check at potlucks. No more just a little loan. Submit requests with receipts. I pay vendors directly. I will never hand you cash again. Karen nodded slowly. She looked older than I'd ever seen her. The illusion of control was gone. She was no longer the queen of Willow Grove. She was a dependent. I signaled Elena. Please show them out. No hugs. No, I love you. Those words felt too small. I watched them walk out the double glass doors, Karen a few paces ahead, Denise trailing, Ethan head down. They climbed into the old sedan and drove away. I stood alone in the lobby of the Maple Retreat. My account was still down thousands, but the bleeding had stopped. The leak was plugged. I checked my phone. The balance was low, but for the first time, every cent in there was truly mine, safe, secure. We needed it, Karen had said. She was right. We didn't need it. We needed this crash. We needed this disaster to burn down the false structures of our community so we could finally see the ashes for what they were. I put my phone in my pocket and turned back to my business. I had a West Wing to build. I had an award to accept. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't have to look over my shoulder to see who was reaching for my wallet. I was free. The neighborhood changed after that day. The absurd fine stopped. Grass could be 2.4 inches or 2.6. No one cared. Garden hoses stretched as long as they wanted. People started talking to each other instead of reporting each other. The community center mortgage got paid on time because I managed the books with actual transparency. Ethan got a legitimate landscaping contract and started paying his share. Denise quietly divorced Karen's influence and moved into a smaller condo, happier than I'd ever seen her. Karen herself? She kept the house, barely, because I honored the agreement. But she lost the presidency, lost the clipboard, lost the power to make anyone's life miserable over paint color. Last I heard, she was selling essential oils on Facebook and complaining that the new board has no vision. No one listens anymore. Every month, the automatic deduction hits her pension. Every month, she gets a polite statement from my office. Thank you for your community contribution. I like to think she reads it and remembers exactly whose money she's living on. I still renovate, still host the occasional potluck, now with real laughter instead of scorekeeping. And when new homeowners move in, I hand them the covenants with a smile and a warning. Read the fine print. And if anyone ever tells you the community needs it, run a background check on your bank account. Because in Willow Grove Estates, the real Karen isn't always the one yelling about lawn height. Sometimes she's the one smiling in pastel, holding the gavel, and quietly draining your future while quoting section 4.2. But this time, the rules got turned around. And the view from the other side of the clipboard is a whole lot sweeter. Thank you for listening to my story. Drop a comment. Have you ever been targeted by an HOA Karen? Was I too hard on her? Or did she finally get what the community actually needed? Hit subscribe, like, and that notification bell so more people can see what happens when one homeowner decides enough is enough. See you in the next neighborhood drama. Stay vigilant, keep your PIN private, and never, ever let them add a second Face ID.